Another exciting and inspiring episode of On Location with Zara. Currently, we're here in the beautiful Kitsilano district. We're on West 4th, and we came here super early to use this beautiful space that is the family run restaurant. Simpatico has been here for 55 years. Incredible, beautiful photos, and Marino, the owner, gave us the permission to open the doors, and we're running the place right now. So my aim with each episode is to bring you amazing and inspiring guests whose stories will leave you feeling empowered to perhaps follow your dreams. Joining me today is someone I've known for, I believe, almost a decade or over a decade now. And to hear more about her story, I was really fascinated the journey her career has been on. From working as a PE teacher to going on to have TV segments, running TV shows, and then going on to run promotion people. She's an author, and I feel she's really had this versatile career. She truly is a trailblazer. I'm talking about none other than Lesley Diana, who is the founder of the Promotion People. So she has helped many Canadian actors' careers over the years, and she's worked as a unit publicist on over 100 films that have come to town here in Vancouver. Lesley, welcome to the show. I know I could go on. I was so inspired reading some of your bio information, but some of the interviews you've done. What a career you've had, and I feel like I can learn so much from you, and not just me but our viewers as well, because it's been one thing after next, and it just really sounds like you kept saying yes in your life. Like opportunities kept coming up, from doing your own show to teach women how to work out, then to do TV segments, to have your own boutique. Like, that is so amazing.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for that glowing introduction.
It's because I am impressed by you and truly inspired.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with everyone who comes on the show, I like to backtrack and talk about the beginnings, because I think that's where the story started. And for a lot of our guests, perhaps someone who is listening or maybe feeling stuck in their life, not sure where to go next, to hear stories of not just success but struggles along the way, I personally find it truly inspiring. So you were a PE teacher.
I was.
Who landed her own TV show. How did that happen?
Well, I was teaching phys ed, and I went to a conference for the lack of physical fitness in women, and they wanted us to, after the conference, they said, all right, so what are you going to do? Now we've fed you and put you up and had this conference for the weekend. What are you going to do? And I don't know honestly where the idea came from, so I said, well, I think a TV show would make sense. And a gentleman came up to me after, and he said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I think I can get you an audition. So this
and
was
may I
in
ask, what
Saskatoon.
sort of PE were you doing? Aerobics, like group fitness classes?
Oh, I was teaching.
Okay.
What you mean in the show, or
before and then
before.
after?
All right, so I was teaching phys ed, and then when I went for the audition at CTV in Saskatoon, I got the job. So I was doing aerobics. So, and that basically, I left teaching, and I just took my the money I've been putting into my pension and cashed out and started my business called Fitness Fun with Lesley. So I had the show, which aired every day for 11 years on CTV.
Lesley, no, I have a question. I was so fascinated about that because I saw some of your photos from back then. Like, is this something like to be a performer or to be filming? Because it can be very daunting to go from
teaching phys ed to high school students.
Like, did you ever do any drama? Like, how was the transition for you? Did you ever wake up and go like, what am I doing? Am I going to, fall on my face? Or you just had the innate confidence that this is the thing?
I did, for some reason. I had no idea where it came from. And I had been watching other people in other cities do it, and I'd been really studying the aerobic movement and so on. And so I started the show, and then I opened up a fitness studio, and then I started designing fitness clothes, and then
So all of that happened simultaneously?
yes, and then I was writing articles for a newspaper that came out a couple of times a week, and then
All fitness related?
all fitness related.
So if you don't mind me asking, and you don't need to answer this, how old were you when you got the TV gig?
In my 20s.
In your 20s? And it just sounds like fish in water. Like
Yes.
it's like everything in the flow. Because
Yes.
to go from, I'm just imagining like what luck, but it's not just luck, it's also like this is what you're meant to be doing. Like everything's just flowing.
And I started, when I was in high school, I was the school girls sports on the SRC. Is that this, they still call that today? Student Representative Council. So I guess and my dad was a cyclist, so fitness was part of our family. So I think that's what led me to taking.
So it was in your blood.
Yes.
And then what I'm hearing is a big entrepreneurial spirit.
Right, absolutely.
And understanding trends. Now I have a question. When you were doing the TV show, were there other shows happening doing something similar to you? This is like back.
Yes, it was back.
Jane
Fonda, of course.
A few years ago.
Yes, Jane Fonda.
But not in Canada.
Not in Canada.
So you were the Jane Fonda of Canada.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I just looked at the camera and just thought of the students that I used to teach and what's the difference.
Love that. So really seeing, because as soon as I read your bio, look at any of the press around you, one of the things that comes to me is this entrepreneurial spirit, which is in touch with creativity and understanding what brings you, what makes your heart flutter,
Right.
but also understanding what the audience may want and trying different things, because you've done a lot of ventures and found success. So really understanding what your clients, what your audience truly wanted, because to go from there and starting your own fitness line, like now that is the rage, because you have 100,000 different options.
That's right.
But back then,
And giving up a very solid career. It gave me 2 months off in the summer and, all that. And I just said, no, this is what brings me joy. And I was always willing to take a leap.
So tell me about that process, like inside of you, like the internal, when you're going to bed or when you're having time alone. How did you inspire yourself or get these ideas, or if you had like a challenging day or maybe perhaps received some sort of negative criticism from someone, because you're a female entrepreneur, you're a TV personality, you're putting yourself out there,
So,
and people, sometimes people get envious or people say things because they see someone shining really brightly, and you were shining really brightly.
right. I didn't really have much criticism. The only thing that I did have, which was negative, was certain men interested in seeing me, and I had to get the police and the RCMP involved a couple of times.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry to hear
Mm-hmm. So they got the guys,
that.
so
And
that was probably the hardest thing.
I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. So tell me about while you're doing your TV show, you're doing your clothing line and opening the gym. Tell me about that, and how long did that last, and how did the idea, the inspiration for that came? Because it sounds like you were managing a lot.
Yes, so the TV show obviously created interest in what I was doing, and a hotel gave me full opportunity to use their pool. And so I did aqua exercises around the pool. So we did half of it was on the deck, and then we went into the pool, and I had these classes going, and then I opened up my own studio downtown Saskatoon. And it started out with just basically the fitness studio, a health bar, and then carrying my own designs plus others. And then I took the next leap and opened up the other half and had a massage therapist, a manicurist, pedicurist, a fashion designer and seamstress.
This is so, I was reading that, that's so ahead of like that time. That is so
Sunbed,
brilliant.
so I had 3,000 square feet then, and this was in a lower level, and then the store above me had been in business for many years, and she was closing, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna take that too. So I opened up my first store called Lesley. So my studio was Fitness Fun with Lesley, and then everybody says, oh, we're going to Lesley's to work out, and so on, so I thought, okay, I'll name
And
my
your
store
show was
Lesley's.
also, your TV show was
Right.
also Fitness Fun.
Yes, and then on top of it, we had a big day called Feminine Focus, focusing on all the aspects of a woman's life at the Centennial Auditorium in Saskatoon, and it was huge. I think we had 60 different people showing their wares and so on. And it was such a huge success. So we went back to CTV, and I said, it was such a success. What about if I do a talk show called Feminine Focus?
Brilliant.
And so I did that once a week, and that for 9 years, and I taught on my fitness show for 11. And then so I opened up
Were you
Lesley's.
filming them simultaneously?
Yes, but the fitness show was done for the most part on location. I had a beautiful backyard with pool, and I was married to a designer at the time. So
You need to upload that stuff online. It should go on your Instagram. That sounds like great content.
So yeah, so I had the ladies wear show, or the ladies wear store, and my talk show, which I just loved. I think that's, you probably can relate to this. And every night talking about the night before, I'd go for a run. I call it meditation in motion, thinking of all the questions I was going to ask the guests coming on and so on. And then at the same time, my articles from the newspapers, I pulled them all together, and that was the basis for my book. And I put it out to a few publishers, and one came back and said, yes, we want to publish it.
Brilliant.
I know. And the only time, and then before that, I had a record and a book. So I got, and it's kind
So
of.
tell us about these newspaper articles. What were those?
Basically fitness. So one time it might be abs, another time it might be working out with your kids, another time, getting them motivated to go for a hike, or when you take your kids to the playground, while don't just sit there and watch them do some things yourself. So I was just really trying to make fitness part of their lifestyle.
And it starts with the parents,
Yes.
It really starts with the parents.
Yes.
That's truly remarkable, it really sounds like opportunities were coming to you, you were magnetizing them, and then saying yes and showing up. And I really love asking people about like their self-care, but it sounds, of course, like the biggest thing is the workout. Like, did you do other things like meditation or journaling, or take time off? Because it sounded like back then I'm sure even now as well, but it sounds like you were just going.
I was.
When you talk about filming 2 shows, that's like what I'm doing right now.
And running a fitness studio, and then expanding. Eventually I had 4 stores across Canada.
Bravo.
Yes.
And you carried some massive brands like
Yes.
Timberland and.
Yes. Well, Timberland, actually, I started doing PR for them after I had closed and sold my stores. So, yeah, so it was just kind of one thing, but also too, I had the ideas, and I just decided to go for it.
I love that. So, one of the things, it's like I was mentioning the entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
If someone comes up to you now, it sounds like you had innate confidence and you had the gutspo to just like listen to whatever comes to you. But if, for example, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old comes to you, whether they're interning as a PR student or whatnot, wanting to learn from you, or an actor, fear and self-doubt, it sounds like that has never been part of your struggle, but what would you say to someone else who is dealing with that? Because you just went ahead, you were doing it, ideas were coming to you, you're pitching yourself, you're putting yourself out there, regardless of whether people are going to say yes or no, but because you had so much conviction in yourself that, I'm sure everyone from fitness studio to TV shows to having multiple shows at the same time, and your book and your stores, people were saying yes to you because Lesley believed in Lesley.
That's right. That's what I would say. Also, times have changed, sadly, because when I went to teach, I walked in and had my interview with the superintendent, and there was a particular school I wanted to teach at because of all the other sports that I wanted to introduce into the curriculum. And he said, well, you just can't choose what school you want to be at. And I said, well, if I didn't tell you, how would you know? And I got the school I wanted. So I think you have to let people know and not be fearful. The other thing I would say, especially today, is really look at the area that you want to go into and just make sure that it's a viable, because so many careers have changed over the years. And for one of them, the one I'm in now, is publicity, because of all the magazines that have closed, the TV shows that aren't around anymore, the newspapers, and so on. So the opportunities to get your clients' press have diminished. So I have had different publicists come to me and say, well, what do you think about, say, doing this or that? And if I really feel that they might get lots of disappointment, I let them know. But if I feel that, yes, this is something, go for it, you've got great talent. And I would say that one of the things that I'm most proud of is, over the years, because I've had a lot of women work for me over the years, is I've almost been like a jump off for them, because so many of the publicists that work with me now they started off working for me more full time, but then the experience they got from working with me gave them the experience to apply for other jobs, and the two that work with me now have great jobs. And it's in part because of the experience that they had with me, and I'm just so excited for them and feel proud that I was part of that opportunity for them.
I love that, and I feel like the fact that there's so much of your backstory, which over the years, us knowing each other from red carpets and fashion weeks and film festivals, you had mentioned, you're like, yeah, it's a similar story because I used to teach yoga, and then I started my own show.
That's right.
And I was like, there's something to Lesley and the fact that staying power. I talk about staying power.
Right.
Because I've seen, since my time, for starting out as a model and then acting and hosting and doing multiple things, you can have a lot of like fire in the beginning, but I call it playing the long game, and keep, rain or shine, no matter what. And it sounds like in this entertainment career, but also as an entrepreneur, that what I get from you is that you love people, you love being around creative people, because you're an artist yourself. And I'm sure, launching the promotion people in the 90s, and you've helped so many actors' careers, who are now living in the US, and some continue to live here or go back and forth, and we'll dig into that. But I do love the fact that you've been talent yourself. So you understand more than anyone else who has only done publicity or marketing or communications and whatnot. You have been the talent in front of camera. So you can probably relate
That's right.
to your clients
Absolutely.
much more.
And one thing when I had my stores, and then GST came in, PST came in, and so on, all of a sudden people were paying what they used to pay $100 for, now had to pay $117 for. So there was definitely a change in the market. And when I decided to sell and close my stores, because on top of it all, I'm a single mother. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and I used to do really creative marketing, and I used to get full pages in the Sun and the Province and Western Living and all the different newspapers in Regina, Saskatoon, Vancouver. I didn't know what I was going to do. But before I get there, the one cool thing is, this is amazing of how things happen for me. The day I drove out I sold my home in Saskatoon, moved out here with my son, set everything up in my home, and the first day I came to my store, because I had other managers running it, I walked in and literally the phone rang, and it was Vancouver Magazine to say we're doing a story on all the people who have an interest in fashion, like fashion designers, Tom Schiffman from Where Else, and so on. And they said, we'd like to include you in that. And I went, whoa, I've only been in town for like a week, and already they're phoning me, and it was just like amazing. So you just never know what's gonna come your way. And then when I closed and sold my stores, I had no idea, honestly, what I was going to do. And I just took some time to sit back, and I pulled together all the marketing and so on I did, and I sent it out to designers I worked with my competition and so on, and said, I'm available if you need any help in marketing. And I sent a little nice folder with all the different kinds of press and promotion that I had done. And Lise Bernard, who was a Canadian designer from Montreal, picked up the phone. She said, Lesley, I got your package. Didn't read it. Whatever you're doing, I want to be part of.
Amazing.
So I got her and Timberland and Park Royal Shopping Center within the first month of me starting my business.
Wow.
I know. So I've had a lot of luck along the way. But it's
But
hard
it also
work.
sounds like you worked really hard, because
Yes.
when I hear of all the things like multiple shows and gym and pitching this and all of that, I know, because people get to see the beautiful which is now the social media, the after. But the nights when you're working and sending your pitches and
Yes,
emails till
absolutely.
midnight, 1 in, the prep that you're doing, the early wake ups, like, this morning I woke up at 5:30 a.m. just to get my hair and
Of course.
everything lined up in
Yep.
time, and being a single mom.
Yes.
So were you a mom while you were doing? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's when I closed I sold my fitness studio, because it was getting too much. And my son once said to me, I never saw you till I was 10. And so one thing you mentioned, self-care, which is something that I really introduced in the last few years. I mean, I was always exercising and so on, but I've added meditation and tapping. Like before I came here today, I did my meditation, I did my tapping, and I just think it's keeping me together and keeps me positive, keeps me alert, and so on, and interested in what's going on.
I'll never forget, I was at your place, this is like many years ago, and you mentioning Feng Shui. And up until then, I'd heard of Feng Shui, but the passion and energy with which you were talking about Feng Shui, and you mentioning about like the star wall, and how, like, I remember like very specific comments, and you talking about, and that inspired me actually. Last year I decided to put up, photos in my home from my travels and really put it out there. It did go in my mind, well, what are people gonna think when they enter my place? Like, okay, these are all photos just of her. But, I remember having the conversation with you, but I also brought in a feng shui expert on my show after the inspiration from you. So it really sounded like, spirituality and mindfulness played a big part in your life.
And that also was once again intervention, because remember Vicky Gabriel had a show and on CTV, and I was talking to the producers about having a client on, and she said, oh, if you want to come to the show tomorrow, we have a feng shui expert coming. Well, I went to the show and I was so inspired. I was managing Wolford as well as doing my promotion people at the time. I went back to Wolford and I totally feng shuied it. And we ended up being the store that increased in sales the most percentage-wise in the world. So there's something to it. Keeping things in order.
Yeah.
And so it's just when you try things, rather than just sitting back and thinking, oh, okay, maybe, just do it and then see what happens.
Completely. Completely. I know we're going to talk about promotion people and all the clients that you've worked with, but I want to talk a little bit about, your career, your personal career as a performer in front of television and the risks you took, the people, the meetings and everything. Tell me some of the highlights when you look back of those moments, or perhaps some things that you overcame that you're like, wow, like I want to go back and talk to that Lesley and be like, you did the right thing by not taking no as an answer, by continuing to believe in yourself.
Well, what I think when you consider, I was teaching and I really enjoyed teaching, but when this opportunity was presented to me, I thought, I can't lose this opportunity. And then once I got into it, I realized that it needed my full attention and I couldn't teach and do it at the same time, so I left teaching, which was a disappointment to my principal and so on. But I just thought, this is an opportunity, and I'm so glad it did, because it opened up the doors, not only to other things, but it also, I guess, opened my mind to the fact that, yes, it's worth taking a chance and doing what you feel passionate about, because then they say if you do what you love, the money will come. So I guess I had confidence in myself, and I had done the preparation, because I think that's also important.
Completely.
Right.
And there's something to be said about, like, with you teaching others, but also doing the physical fitness.
Absolutely.
I've been working with a trainer for the last month and a half, and training 3 times a week with them, and then doing other movement and changing my nutrition, my eating habits to working out. It just changes your insights. It just changes how you deal with stress, how you deal with difficult moments, difficult situations, because when you challenge your body enough in the gym or Pilates or yoga or whatever it is you're doing, and then when you have in your life, like, do you think that having that physical component, that movement component in your life truly helped your mindset?
Absolutely. And obviously over the years, I would say honestly, I've had 2 jobs, full-time jobs most of my life in my career. And when COVID hit and more time was left for us, I decided at that point, if I can spend 2 hours a day on my clients, I can do that for myself. So I decided to become one of my clients. So now I work out I go to classes at least 6 times a week.
Amazing.
And book everything around that. So if I have a class, I just say, if people say, can we talk tomorrow? I'll say, yes, I'm available other than, and I don't let anything other than if it's really, really important, the time can't be changed, I go. And I find with the fitness class, for me, the reason it works is because, one, you're in there for an hour. You can't just go and lift some weights and go, oh, okay, that's enough for today. You gotta stick the whole hour in, and the fact that you have to be there at the time it starts. So that's really worked for me. And then I started adding more, with the tapping and the meditation. I've been doing Deepak Chopra and Oprah's meditation, 21-day meditation, probably every day for at least 6 years. And then I added tapping and so on. So I just feel that it's just making that commitment and realizing it's okay to spend time on yourself, because especially women and moms, we're always putting, like, if you've got children, they're all coming first, and the house comes first, and taking care of that. But it's important to take care of yourself, because then you can take care of everything else much better.
Very well said. Very well said. And I know for me, the last little while, like, I'm so grateful I have my trainers who are like, okay, we gotta get this workout in. Normally Saturdays I'm like working out. Even on a day that I've filmed in the past, I've done an at-home 6 a.m. workout.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's the earliest I've done, but today, like, I had to be in hair and makeup. But yeah, I do find that, you know, what you're exactly saying, making yourself a priority, making yourself your own client, because it's so easy to put work first, to meet the deadlines, respond to the email, or having a time to, like, okay, I had to actually set boundaries with a few folks who were like texting me at 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the evening on a Sunday. And, you know, I said, I really appreciate this, but this is my personal number. If it's after business hours, kindly send me an email, you know, unless we're best friends, or like, you know, we're very closely working together. Urgent. Yeah, like very, very, very urgent, like something like an emergency happening the next day. And learning, just like you said, as women, you know, to have those boundaries. I don't have children, but I have fur babies.
Yes.
And, you know, who are like babies, taking
That's
all
right.
my attention. So I do find, you know, talking about creativity and entrepreneurial spirit, while at the same time self-care, because if we're just putting all of our energy just into the work and not giving to ourselves, and not doing something for us, whether it is walking or hiking or meditation or tapping, or sometimes just laughing.
Yes, laughing.
You know, like, I love going to like improv, like comedy, stand up, to see comics, or even a concert the other night, and realizing, like, wow, that gives so much to me.
We're watching Ryan Gosling.
And the
Saturday Night Live, that was amazing. But yes, just taking time to do that, because there's so many other things that are so disturbing on TV and what's happening in the world. So we need to get away from that and focus on making things that make us feel good.
Completely. So let's talk about promotion people. Tell us, how did promotion people come to be? Because that's taking a big turn in a different direction. And, you know, for so long, you were the one that people were writing about, you were the one getting interviewed, you were the one in front of the camera, doing the shows, you know, the entrepreneur with the store, with the book, and all of that. And then taking this big turn in the other direction, and deciding that, okay, I understand a lot about this business, I'm going to help support others' careers.
So it's all started, as I said, with Lesley Diana, Timberland, and Park Royal Shopping Center. So I was getting them press and meeting and coming up with really cool ideas to promote Park Royal and Lesley Diana and so on. And so I've been doing that for a few years. And then Gavin Wilding, who was the producer, director in Vancouver, needed a publicist for the premiere of his movie Stag. And a good friend of mine, Jackie Renner, had was working as a production manager for his company, and she said, well, I know a publicist, but she hasn't done film. He says, well, let me meet her. So he gave me that opportunity, and I did the publicity for Stag, and then he was directing and producing a movie called Christina's House. And so he said, I'm doing a movie, would you like to be the unit publicist? I said, yes. And I'd never done it before, but I learned. And then after that, they were happy with me, and Rodney Dangerfield was doing a movie with Jerry Stiller, Andrew Dice Clay, and so on. And so I got the production manager on his movie, hired me for that movie, and then that just opened up doors. And then for a while, I was doing publicity for the Airbud Group, and for I was working on with three production companies, so I was kept really busy. And then Emmanuel, who we both love,
Yes.
who was in 3 of the movies that I had done the unit publicity for, came in and said, Lesley, you've done publicity on 3 of my movies. Would you be interested and willing to be my personal publicist?
So you've been her publicist for this many years?
Yes, for over 20 years.
Wow, Lesley.
So I said, sure, why not?
Mhm.
So so she and I started working together, and then one after another actor came to me, and as I said,
I feel like you work with all the top
I know,
actors
right?
here
I
who've
know,
gone
but
on to have massive
exactly.
careers.
I know, I'm so lucky. It just really brings me joy to know that, you know, I worked with them at the beginning, and a lot of actors get their, need publicity if they want to work in the States. Because one of the requirements for their O1 I should say, is to have some publicity and press. So yes, I've worked with so many. It's just so encouraging.
Now, for those individuals who may not be actors or from the entertainment industry, tell us the importance of publicity, not just for an actor, but even with someone who has a personal brand. They could be a content creator on social media, or a TV host, or a yoga teacher, or just a designer or a restaurant owner. What is the importance of publicity? I know, but I want you to tell our viewers.
All right, let's start with actors, first of all. With an actor, it's important because when you go out for a role, you have an audition. And so they might narrow it down to 3 people, and then they start to look at what you've done, and by doing publicity and getting articles in newspapers, magazines, on TV, talk shows, and so on, people will watch them, and then all of a sudden they'll go, gee, I'd like to find out more about that person. They'll go to their Instagram. I'm jumping ahead a bit here because of what's happening now, but then they follow them on Instagram, so that helps increase their followers and so on. So when a director producer is looking at who they're going to hire, if somebody's got thousands of followers and somebody only has a few or doesn't do any, they might say, okay, that particular person is going to help promote our movie more than, say, somebody who's staying silent. So that's one reason. Now let's just take whether it's a store, whether it's an event, whether it's like you say, an influencer. It's important because I've always said, you can open up the most beautiful store or restaurant or whatever, but if you don't let anybody know about it, who's going to come? So it's really an important part of keeping the business and going and growing.
That's so well said, and I find it so fascinating because even though, you know, I post quite a bit on social media, but every time, like, I'm not just talking about Instagram, but LinkedIn and Facebook and different platforms, I always have a little bit of like inside critic or cringe, like, okay,
Mhm.
you know, thinking of what people may be thinking of me, which is something you don't want to think about.
Right.
However, recently, over the last month or so, I've gotten so many messages like, I've been watching your career. I'm not sure if you know, we met at so and so. Can you come and MC this event?
Mhm.
Can you moderate, you know,
That's
a
right.
panel discussion with this Oscar-nominated director?
Right.
Just opportunities because I'm putting myself out there.
That's right.
And if I'm not sharing my work, people need to see it 20 to 30 to 40 times you doing something for them to believe that I am the person for the job, even though sometimes I'll post like once a week, but every month I make my goals, and it's like sharing more of my work, because you have to have that. But then to take it to next level, you need someone who is an expert in the field, who is connected, well connected, who has
That's
a
right.
track record, who has the connections with press, whether it is digital press or print or TV, who can get you more exposure.
That's right. Like I'm working with the play A Lifestyle,
Mhm.
or sorry, A Lifespan
Man
of
of
a
a-
Fact. And we got through persistence, we got pretty much everybody to write about it. We got the reviewers out, we got listings in the Sun and, or Georgia Strait and so on, and it's getting people to the play. But if they would have just opened the play and not, you know, didn't put the word out there, who's gonna come?
You can't wait until the 11th hour.
No,
You
gotta
know,
start ahead. That's important. Thank
I've
you.
had individuals doing events, and they asked me to, you know, they gave me like tickets to the event, and they had some heavy hitters. I'm not gonna say any names, not to give anything away, but literally 1 week before the event, they're asking me for referrals from PR individuals who can. I gave your information, just FYI. This is like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just thinking in my head, the lineup you have is a star-studded lineup. Publicity should have started a month and a half ago.
Absolutely.
And because you're worried about filling seats, but I was the only media there, because for one of the other shows that I work for, they were bringing me in just as an influencer, just to make some content, do some Instagram stories. That's it. And I pitched it to my other show. I was the only, but even organizing things for the media, and I was like, you guys have a great location, great lineup, but if you're not promoting, so many people message me on Instagram saying, when did this take place? I didn't even know about this.
That's right.
However, with the play, you see it everywhere. Everyone is reposting, sharing all of that, because you need to hire someone who knows what they're doing.
Plus, you have to do it ahead of time,
Yes.
because not only because you need to get the word out early, but because what's happened in the industry as far as publications go. Look at the New York Times. It used to be on Sundays, used to be this thick, and now it's about this thick. Like, things are shrinking. They don't have as much space. They have reduced staff and so on. So you need to give them like 2-3 months advance notice for them to even consider writing about you. So for you to think 2 weeks ahead of time that they're gonna jump at the chance, then sorry, they're booked, because they only have so much time and they only have so much space. And then of course there's so much else going on in the world right now that's basically in competition for that space. So it's very important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about PR and publicity, and because I know that what it's done for me, and in the past, my first show that I did, like we didn't have a budget for it, so I had individuals who were interns, and I said, okay, we're gonna write this and we're just going to send this out, but it's not about that. It's also the connection that is so important, because when you have that connection with media, with press, with the producers, whether it's like TV or whatnot, because that is what you have. So it's like individuals who are watching right now, I really want them to understand that whether it is a boutique opening, whether it is your new book launch, or you have a film coming out, having an expert in the field is just so important. So that leads me down to talk about some of your clients and highlights, which I'm sure you have so many stories, because I love all the individuals. I feel like I know most of them because of interviewing them
And
over
then
the
I see
years.
they're still working.
Yes, there's over the years, because you know, from like Emmanuel to like Aaron to, I feel like almost every Vancouver actor has been like people who've had careers
Yes.
have been repped by you, or
Yes.
have received publicity because of you. But I would love to hear some stories. You know, I'm sure our audience will as well, that really jump out for you, that, you know, whether it was like a red carpet experience here or in Los Angeles or somewhere else, that you can share with us.
Okay, I'm gonna get back to the feng shui one day. I put up your fame and fortune area is right across from your front door, and it's kind of the star power, color is red. I put up these stars, and literally within a week I got Sonia Saloma, Chris Kramer, who was the collector at the time, and Michael Eckler. So I went, oh my gosh, something's happening here. So that was kind of cool.
Okay, so right across from your front door.
Yes.
What if you have a storage room right across from your front door?
That's okay.
So put red and stars.
Yes. In your place, it's your balcony isn't that?
I have because you've been to my place.
Yes. So the balcony in that area is your fame and fortune area. The one to the right is romance. The one to the left is prosperity. And you don't have to have, like, at first I started putting all these things everywhere, but you can just hide them. So, and Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life by Karen Carter Roche, I think is her last
I
name.
need to get that book. You've told me about that before.
That's because it's so easy. But anyway, let's get back to
we get back to you. Yes.
And all right, Emmanuel and I have had some amazing opportunities, trips together. So she was on the cover of UMM, and we all went down to the Toronto Film Festival, red carpets, big party with her as the featured guest. We've gone to New York together for STAG press junket. And what was so cool about that was when we were there, Brian Greenberg, who had worked with in One Tree Hill, was also there in a movie with Meryl Streep and Uma Thurman.
No way.
And we got to go to the premiere and to the after party at the Four Seasons. That was fun. We've had some good times together. We have. And another actor that I've worked with forever is Nicole Oliver. And I admire Nicole Oliver for many reasons, but one thing that Nicole has, somewhat like me, always thinking ahead. And she was an actor in some very big series and so on. And then after she had her second son, she realized that maybe she needed to focus or expand her horizons. So she went to her agent and said, I'd like to become a host of a reality show. And she got one, Crash Test Mummy. And then she sees all, what's going on, and she's been in so many animated and voiceover projects that she was looking at the director. She goes, I could do that. So then she also now is one of the top animated directors in Vancouver, still acting in front of the camera, still doing voiceover, directing, and so on. So you have to learn to pivot and don't just get down because...
She sounds like a great story. You're doing a pitch right now. I know we've talked about bringing Nicole on before. I would love, because I've interviewed her at the UBCP Awards.
That's right.
Several times, and I believe one time when she won an award.
Yes, and she's often nominated because Yeah, she's very, very good at what she does. Yes. And then, I mean, I've worked like Zach Santiago. I just saw him the other day. I worked with him, you know, when his career was just starting. And, you know, it's just so nice. I get all these big hugs from him and Alex Ponovic, which I haven't been his publicist, but I definitely supported him, and he and I, you know, connect. And he's been in some movies that I have been unit publicist with. And I'm going to tell you one of my fun days, which some people who followed my career have probably heard about it before, but when I did the Rodney Dangerfield movie, I had one day of publicity. We went to the top of Seymour Mountain to interview Rodney Dangerfield in the snow. And then we went to the Sutton Hotel and around the pool and interviewed Jerry Stiller.
Very cool.
And then we went out to a tennis court, and it was Andrew Dice Clay was in the last scene. I'm sure he was exhausted, but he still stuck around to have the interview with me. And all of it was because Jerry stayed overnight because it was Rodney, and Andrew did it because it was Rodney. So, and Rodney had helped so many people with their careers over the years, and I think that's also important, just to take his example of helping people, because in return it helps you.
Completely. And supporting and acknowledging, because I think that it's also the law of abundance. It's like the more that you give and are of service to others, that's abundance. Yeah, that's abundance mindset and acknowledging. I always say, I aim to live my life like this, that if I see something positive in someone else, whether it is a habit or something they've achieved in their career, or, you know, it could be something as simple as how they look, to voice it instead of just keeping it inside, because you never know, they need to hear it.
Right.
And even for me, it's like sometimes I'll be in a cafe and I'll compliment someone, and in turn that happens to me too, right?
And it makes them feel good.
Completely. Like it's a month or 2 months ago, I actually got the kindest message from Alex Ponovic, just out of nowhere, and I was filming that day my show, and the message said something like, "I'm not sure how often you hear this, but I just want you to know, like, I see how hard you work." And, you know, he just said like a few things out of nowhere, and I just want you to know I love you, and I see, like, I started crying. And that was
he deserves all the success he has, because he is on fire.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I saw him the other day at the play, and big hug, and oh, you're looking good, and always has something nice to say.
Yeah.
And
I feel like individuals like that, and because I remember Alex when he was focusing on what he wanted, like, you know, and things were happening, like a little thing here or there, and I interviewed him on my show Life and Style with Zara back in like 2011, and then to see the trajectory. And you know what's interesting? He's the same person. If anything, he's more warmer and sweeter, and it's amazing. And I learned from people like that.
I'd say the same thing about Zach, Emmanuel, Nicole. They're all success, but they're also kind and open.
I remember Erin.
Yes.
You know, we were filming my show, The Inspired Life, Vancouver. I'd never met Erin, but heard her name and her pictures and photo shoots, because she's one of your clients, and, you know, all the photo shoots and publicity you've helped organize for her. And just meeting her, and we're filming the show in my place, and I'm like, okay, this is this fabulous actress with an amazing career. You know, I wonder what she's thinking. I'm gonna show up to this girl's apartment. We're gonna do this show, and it was just effortless, like a girl's girl, like right off the bat. Like, you know, we were gonna film for an hour. I think we went an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, because the connection was just so there and just so open, and it's just so inspiring when the other person is giving you this energy, and it's real, right? Like, it's not just for camera, it's even afterwards, and connecting like that was just really, really beautiful. And it always inspires me and warms my heart because I learn from them. And just like you, right? Like,
absolutely.
You, over the years, I've gotten to know you through little moments
Of
and
course,
through
yes.
connections and, you know, my ups and downs and roller coasters. And, you know, you've always said these inspiring things to me, Lesley. You know, you're always like, Zara, you're a host, you do this and that, and, you know, sitting down for coffee with you after COVID, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening.
Right.
And
then coming back from
Yeah,
Paris, right?
yeah.
Saying, okay, I'm back, but okay, what now?
Yeah, but it's just nice to have that community feeling, and I feel like one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in today is I was like, wait a second, you know, it's like we live in this TikTok Gen Z, you know, age, which I super love, but you know, to see someone like you, and I feel like you have this wisdom and depth of knowledge and all this experience. And I really wanted to dig into that because I think that someone who's had such a versatile career, like you are a trailblazer, you know, and a female entrepreneur ahead of her time who's done who's had massive accomplishments. And not just in her own career, but then gone on to support others' careers.
That's right.
You know, and that is what I find truly inspiring. So talking about inspiring, I want to ask what inspires you?
I would say often it's other people.
Mm.
And I get excited about their careers as much as I get excited as they do about their own career.
Mm.
I would say just having good people around you inspires me. Feeling good about yourself, I think that's important. I think also being nice. Like they often say how Canadians are so nice, and what I appreciate is I can honestly say that my clients don't have attitude. And I really appreciate that because especially in the film industry, there are a lot who do, who's perhaps, they've just lucked out, but sometimes they let that attitude get them into a situation where they perhaps aren't looked at as well as they could be because of their attitude. So for me, it's, I guess, just good feelings and just, I guess, seeing what you can do. Just and when you were talking about spending time with your Instagram and so on, that people need to realize that it does take extra time and work, but that's how you're going to get the success. You're going to get noticed, and I think sometimes I often pat myself on the back, whether it's helping my son buy a condo or whatever, and thinking, oh, you're a single mom and you did that. Good for you, Lesley.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you got to give yourself kudos. Not just wait for other people to as well, because that just makes you feel good.
I love that. I don't know why, but I have this feeling there's something next for you. Is there something that's cooking or something that is, you know, that you're working on?
It's not so much that I'm working on it, but I think that maybe yes, but I'm not quite sure what it is yet. But in the meantime, I love what I do. And I'm happy to have a little bit more time for me because, like I said, I work 2 full-time jobs. I mean, I used to macrame while I was teaching. I was, you know, like I say, I had the fitness studio and the fashion and writing a book and so on, or managing a store plus having my the promotion people. And one thing I will say to entrepreneurs, that if you get to the point where you can have other people working for you, always try to find somebody that can do things better than you. Like Jasmine, who's been with me for over 15 years, I always have her either, if she's working with the client or helps me with my clients, and she does all the editing and proofreading and so on. And Josephine is great in social media. And so I think that's important to keep that in mind, that it's okay to have other people help you, because sometimes time is worth more than money. And also too, they both have great careers on top of what they're doing to help me.
Amazing. And you're making space for that instead of trying to micromanage and you
And
know,
look
it's
at them as competition, or
100%.
because yes, I think that's important. And also helping other people in the industry rather than thinking, oh, they're my competition. Then, you know, we all need to work together. We all need each other. Like, you need guests, and I need my clients to be on shows, so it works perfectly.
Completely. And it's coming from a place of respect and admiration
And love.
and love completely, and just being of service and support. You know, how can we? Like, I know this term gets thrown around a lot, but we're in this together. But it's just so true, and it's Vancouver. Our industry is small, and we have to be there for each other. We have to support each other. If there's something you could say to the 18-year-old Lesley, what would you say to her?
Way to go, girl.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say that, because and I feel so blessed that I have this inside of me to make those steps, to have the courage to do the things that I've done. And both of us can honestly say our lives are way more exciting than if we wouldn't have done what we're doing, right?
Indeed, indeed. Well, that's a great way to end the show. Lesley, this was truly amazing and so inspiring speaking with you today. And I really wanted to acknowledge the career that you've had. And, you know, of course, we know you as the promotion people, but, you know, today I really got a sense of who Lesley Diana really is, and this amazing experience in television and fashion, and this wonderful entrepreneurial life that you've had. You truly inspired me. And if you felt inspired, please do get in touch and let us know. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani, and I'll catch you on Location with Zara, produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. And today we're here at Simpatico Restaurant, a family-run restaurant in the heart of Kitsilano on West 4th.